Mark,
Yo, what's up, man?
what's going on? How are you?
Good, just flipping through this absolute Batman. Hadn't looked at it in a few weeks now.
Yes, the dawn of DC has it is now the dusk of DC,
Oh,
and we see what I did there.
I do.
We are done with absolute power, but we are about to blow open the doors on the absolute universe. So let's do that right after this. Before we get started, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button, hit the notification bell so you're alerted whenever we upload new content. And don't forget to leave us a comment because we like to hear what you think of what we're saying. Hopefully, it'll be good. If it's not, keep it to yourself. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, leave us a comment. We love to hear from you guys. Let us know what you want us to talk going forward. Absent any big DC Comics events, there don't seem to be any on the horizon. So we're gonna be all in Absolute Universe, in the Absolute Universe. So
Looking forward to it.
exactly. And we had the onset of the Absolute Universe. Well, technically, we had it way back in Death Metal, but we had the Absolute Universe, the onset in the DC All In special, and then had the first two entries into the Absolute Universe, Absolute Batman and Absolute Wonder Woman. These are not your daddy's heroes. We
They're
do
not.
say that.
That's like the Star Trek line. I still
Yeah,
remember that. This is not your dad's Star Trek.
yeah, exactly.
Was it?
Uh, But we started with Absolute Batman, and there was a cover for everybody. So if whatever you wanted to get, you could get. But we basically dive right into Absolute Batman. We
We
kind
do
of
any
we
prefacing for this? If you've missed if you missed the
okay.
previous video we did, which was the finale to the Dawn of DC stuff, which we really started the Absolute because the DC All In special, but
Mhm.
Absolute is a separate world in the main DC universe created by Darkseid. So all of the familiar players are there, but because this world is created by Darkseid, everything's shifted and different. Like Metropolis is not the city of hope. It's Gotham is just all chaos. So it's all your familiar characters, but in different settings than we would regularly see them. That's the absolute world.
Yes, in fact, we see Metropolis. We has a big Omega symbol on the Daily Planet. It looks like,
Yeah,
or maybe that was Wayne Tech. Who knows? And then we also saw the Legion of Heroes. Their ring doesn't have the L on it anymore. It has the Omega symbol on it.
yeah,
So this was truly a world that was built around and by Darkseid.
yeah. So that's what the absolute world is. So that, and we get our first like long look into it in Absolute Batman that came out, I guess, a month ago now, right?
Yeah,
Wednesday.
it was like the 16th, I think it came out. Maybe the second.
Those
It
Batman
was
and
October 2nd.
Wonder Woman in 2 weeks. Yeah, so yeah, 1 month ago.
Yep.
But yeah,
All right.
this is
So
it. It's
yeah,
here.
exactly, and we start to see just the very first page of what will become this Batman's origin. We find him in a circus, or at the zoo rather, and he's standing outside of the Bat exhibit. But that's really all that we see at the very beginning. And we see his father, Thomas Wayne, who is a we'll find a little bit later, but he's a teacher who has actually brought his class to the Gotham Zoo.
Yeah, then we get a really cool page turn to a title page with just
Mm,
that image, Absolute Batman Part 1, The Zoo. Part 1 of 5 for this first story arc. I love these big splash title pages. It really gives you a cinematic feel to the book. World's Finest does it, and it just really gets you in there. You're like, oh, well, that's an ominous image, especially knowing Batman's origin, just waiting to see how it's going to drop in this.
right, because we will find because it's a little bit off. It's not the origin you think it is.
Mm-mm.
So. By any stretch of the imagination, we switch to a person that is basically has come to Gotham. He is basically searching for some evildoers, for lack of a better term. He's getting some. He's talking to someone, some nondescript person on the other end of his microphone, of his headset, and he's basically just kind of tooling around, saying, "This is not the Gotham. It's not the same Gotham that I left."
Yeah, what an intro. Like I read this page and it sent me down there. We get the inner monologue of this character on a motorcycle riding into Gotham saying, "Hello again. What have you become while I was gone? You're prettier. I'll give you that. Taller, brighter, but deep down, something's changed. I'm not sure I like this new Gotham." And you clearly are meant to think this is like Bruce returning, because the Bruce we know leaves Gotham, trains with the best of the best. And it even had that Matt Reeves Batman vibe to the intro to the new Batman. Like I read it in that slow paced out tone, and I can almost hear the music playing in my head, that dun 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 dun. And then you get there and he takes his helmet off and it's Alfred. It's not
Right.
It's not Bruce. I'm like, oh,
Exactly.
you got me. You got
Exactly.
me.
Alfred riding a motorcycle, obviously, much more athletic than he is. This is not your, shall I prepare your bath type Alfred type person.
No, he's the I'm going to scrub you down type Alfred. This guy's packing heat. He's got assets. He's setting up shop as his return. He walks into a room covered in munitions, like guns all on the wall and everything. He sits down in front of a computer and he dials in with his handler. So he's clearly some form of a secret agent, mercenary, something like that. And he's asking for his assignment. And the mysterious other side of the computer gives him the information of a gang that has taken over in Gotham City called the Party Animals. They're ruthless. They're crazy. Everything's on the edge. You need to get out there and pacify the targets and all that kind of stuff. And he gets ready to go out.
Right. But then we get the first inkling. He hears there's discussion that there may be another player in Gotham, and although the handler gives Alfred or tells Alfred he does not have the go ahead to what's what I'm looking for?
Take out.
Yeah, to take out the gang, he does have the ability to do that with this new player in town. So
yeah, if this guy interrupts your surveillance of the Party Animals, take him out. If you see
right.
him, take him out.
Right.
And Alfred steps back outside to notice his motorcycle that he rode in on is gone, and that'll come into play later. But he immediately says, "I hate this town," which kind of was a great little ending to our intro with the inner monologue of him trying to justify his feelings and his thoughts for the city that bites on, "I hate this town."
Right. Switch to Croc's gym, which is interesting. We see Bruce kind of training there, and we find out that the person who runs the gym obviously is Croc. It is Killer Croc, for lack of a better term. He's not in the form of an alligator, a humanoid alligator like we know from our regular Batman comics, but he is very friendly with crocodiles. So there he's going with the punching bag, and as he's doing that and he's punching, we take these quick flashbacks again to the zoo.
Yeah, and there we just kind of see him having conversations with his father, talking about the animals that are there, and just beating the hell out of the bag.
Yeah, and then Croc pulls up the alligator. We then find out that this is a little bit different. That Bruce Wayne, knows some of the people. There's references to Edward. There's references to Selina. There's references to Harvey, but not in a these are your these are your villains. They basically are they're poker pals. They play poker together.
Yeah, it looks like they came up as siblings together, or as friends when they were young together. Kind of get those vibes. They have the picture of them when they're younger. They're making references to Oz. Hook me up with the exotic pet license, and they're talking like, "Yo, he's really going down the wrong path. He's going to end up getting in trouble one of these days." So you can kind of see where they're all there, but they're not in any kind of villain capacity. And it's cool that they all knew each other going back before any kind of vigilantism or villainy or anything like that. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And it also makes me wonder who's going to be the main players in this book. If you just checked in all the villains, all the major rogues just checked in, and they're not bad guys yet. They're not super villains yet.
Right. We switch to a pool, to a yacht that has a swimming pool on it. I'm thinking this is the Black Mask crew.
Oh yeah, they're on the yacht. They're partying.
Exactly.
You got gangsters on there. You got the turntables. You got the women, you got the weird mask, the party animal people or whatever. And Black Mask looks wild. Like he's got his black mask, but it's got like the way it's different is like this big globe part of the mask as well. He's sitting there talking to the crime families, the respected crime families in Gotham. I think it was Falcone and Maroni, wasn't it? Yeah. So those are the top two dogs, and they're kind of big wigging each other, puffing their chests out, talking about Gotham, this and that, and how crazy the party animals have gotten and everything, and how they ain't really going to put up with all this, and they got people. And Black Mask is like, oh yeah, you got people. I wanted to show you something, and kind of opens this drawer and shows them the severed heads of all of their lieutenants, all their relatives that are big players in their gang. And about the time he shows them this, he just has them killed, like by the other people on the deck, like strangling them, stabbing them in the eye. So we checked in with all the rogues, and they're all nobodies. We just checked in with the big crime families of Gotham, and we watched them, just the last of them, get erased off the map right at the beginning of this. So Black Mask and his gang of party animals are setting the stage, like right there. Those are our front runners for our villains. This is clearly the biggest issue that we have going on in Gotham.
Right. We then switched to a press conference that Jim Gordon is holding, and he is basically being challenged that the city is basically on the downward spiral.
Yeah, the press is not having none of it. And while this is going on, we get great silhouette shots flashing back to Bruce on a rooftop. And you just see him putting the helmet on. You see this unique cape that was our first shot of it, how it's different than what we'd usually see, blowing forward in the wind and cutting back to the press just eating him alive. And while this is happening, we see Alfred stationing up on a building across the way. We see the party animals arrive and slowly start working their way into the press conference. And then somebody comes to Gordon's defense against the press, saying he's done a good job. He's trying his best. The city's crazy. What more would you have him do? And this, again, is a world created by Darkseid. So is there anything anyone could really do? It is what it is.
Right. The Black Mask gang, busts their way in, guns blazing, all sorts of people all over the place until we finally come and we see that Batman has now taken this opportunity to show himself.
Yeah, but not before Jim Gordon himself got gunned down at the podium. So Jim's off the table. It looks like Jim gets hit, and it looks like his daughter, who was a uniformed officer, Barbara, comes running up to him, and he's sitting there holding her hand, and she just says to get everyone out of here. It looks like he got hit, right? It's really hard to.
Yeah, it's tough to tell because his podium is destroyed, but they don't really actually show him die anywhere.
Yeah, this is definitely a subjective 3 panels right here. They start blasting. He says, and she's like, Dad, and he's like, just get everyone out of here. We don't see him again. I don't remember.
Right. I don't think we do see him again in this issue.
Yeah, and so they're still standing at the entranceway, and then these objects come up behind this guy and just yoke him out the door, and it slams shut. And then you just see a face poke down. Whatever you do not open this door. And the face is upside down. Now that line of dialogue will become very relevant by the end of this book and show you just how good of a writer Snyder is.
Right.
But they're now stuck outside. Gordon's seeing, not Gordon, but Alfred is seeing this, and he's starts tapping into his handler. If he disrupts intel gathering, you are to engage, Pennyworth. And he says copy. So they're gathering. The party animals just got yanked outside. They're standing up, gathering their stuff, looking around what to do, and hanging up above them, they notice the Batman and just start opening fire on him. And that's when he jumps down and we get our first full page splash shot of absolute Batman, #thick boy. My man's got the meats. We're going to call him Arby's from now on. And then we get a wild fight from here. And it really starts showcasing the different attributes of this Batman. This cape is not just uniform across the bottom and sides like we're used to. It's segmented, and it looks like there's like staffs in the like the, I don't know what you'd call it, like the lining of the cape itself, that he's actually able to use like staffs and like harpoons and batons and stuff like that. There's just, his entire cape system is a weapon. He's able to grab folks with it from around the neck. He's able to sling them through the air with it into a window, And then you get a shot where he's even able to use them as stilts, like jump up put him down on the ground. And that system comes into play later. But after he beats the hell out of them, more start coming up. And this is where it gets wild, Paul. He reaches up and grabs his bat ears and throws them as battering rings, knocks some people out. He pulls the arm points out and just starts slashing and cutting where he normally just uses the block blades and swords. He's using them to hit people with, taking them out, pulls the ears out of people and puts them back in his head. And then he's facing their big guy. This is where that epic scene, the Indiana Jones scene where the guy walks up, just swinging the sword all around and doing his thing and showing off. You got that guy doing that with a meat cleaver, big guy. He's wearing a suit, but his arm's so big, don't even have sleeves. So what does Batman do? Reaches down, pulls out a handle, hooks it up to the emblem on his chest, and pulls it down in the form of a freaking axe. What a 3-page. Like that intimidated me. Where's that? Right there.
Yeah. Yeah, he basically has his own battle axe built into his suit. And on the very next page, you can see, as happens in Indiana Jones, it didn't take long before the person who was swinging the cleaver loses his hand.
One swing and it's over. Takes his hand off. And what's cool is Batman tells him, like, oh, man, you're bleeding out. I've heard if you get there to the hospital soon enough, they might can reattach it. And I think there's one 3 miles that way. Or is it that way? like, dude, what? He said, I don't know, but I would run if I were you, kind of thing. So the rest of them are just looking at Batman. This is where we get our last little like WTF with this new suit, and Batman just like everyone's looking at him, kind of not sure what to do next. And Batman just flexes and screams, "Get out of my way!" And when he does, spikes emerge off of the back of this suit, and we're able to see that the backside of the suit itself has some kind of like armament on it. So he's definitely like caked up in armor and Kevlar and all these different weapons and stuff. It's wild. Super wild. And then I believe it's Alfred that sets off the bomb, isn't it?
Yes. Alfred sets off a bomb to disable as many people as he can. And then he comes up behind Batman and basically says, what you've just heard is the sound of a semi-automatic rifle. There are only 3 of them in the whole world. It could blow your head off all over the sidewalk before you even blink, and before Alfred can blink. He turns around and he takes the gun away from Alfred, and he says, sounds interesting.
Next shot, we get a little bit of obviously it looks like he got away, kicks Alfred, snatches his gun, gets away. And then next shot, we kind of see the city's back to normal. It looks like some construction sites, and it's giving us some little narration dialogue on how for these years this Bruce Wayne was a smart kid, got a football scholarship, and he got a minor injury and leaned into it and faked it so that he wouldn't have to continue in sports, and he self-educated himself, and he started picking up jobs around the city, and sanitation to the sewers to the construction jobs, every different job you can imagine on an infrastructure level. He has done those jobs to familiarize himself with the city and to learn as much as he could. So where the normal Batman we know has traveled the world, been trained by all these different assassins and all these different leagues and stuff, and learned as much as he could from the best of the best. This Batman has taught him everything he needs to know about Gotham inside of Gotham from the sewers up, which was definitely a cool take.
Yeah, absolutely. And we see what I did there. Flashback back to the zoo, and we find while they are there, this gunman suddenly storms the zoo, and he just starts shooting people. And what happens is Bruce's father, Thomas Wayne, puts everybody, kind of shuffles everybody into the bat exhibit, closes the door, and says, "No matter what you hear, do not open this door."
Which is the same words Batman told Barbara before the fight.
Right. And then we hear, there's more blam, blam, blam. We don't actually see the murder on panel, but we do see some things. We find out that Bruce is actually also takes care of his mother as well. Martha was not killed; she is still alive in this world. So he goes and he visits her. As often as he can, and the two have a nice little discussion about things. Alfred comes back. He finds Bruce in a sorry, Bruce finds Alfred in one of the top floors. No, Alfred finds Bruce.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Alfred ends up tracking Bruce to the point of visiting his mom. He's unpegged
Right.
who the Batman
Right.
is. Didn't take him long. He's good. He's good.
Right.
Or maybe this Batman's just not as good as the main Batman yet.
Right. So Alfred finds Bruce in a basically an abandoned like top story of a skyscraper. Interestingly enough, he says basically that if you go into any major city, a lot of times you'll just find abandoned like top floors of skyscrapers. They're just kind of built there, and then nobody ever moves into them, and so there's a lot of those. Um, Bruce turns everything around again on Alfred, and before you know it, he is on Alfred's cycle.
Yeah, and the way he did it was fantastic. He pulls Alfred's own shotgun that he took earlier, and they're trained on each other. Alfred's got him dead to rights. Batman's got him dead to rights. And while Alfred's talking, he's like, "Hey man, that's my gun. I want it back." And we both know you're no killer. And the minute he says that, Batman shoots him square in the face. Blam! Right in the face. Like
Right.
just didn't care. Jumped on Alfred's bike and drove it off the top floor of the skyscraper. And when Alfred gets up, he has these tiny batarangs stuck in his face and realized that Batman took this super rare one of 3 automatic rifles and turned it into a non-lethal weapon with batarangs. It was amazing.
It was. Big splash page with Batman on the motorcycle, flying off the skyscraper. We don't know where. We all go from there, but we have a quick epilogue where, if you've noticed, we have mentioned lots of characters from Batman's history, with one exception, and that is the Joker. And so here we find that there is basically one more person that we're going to be introduced to. And it happens to be this character who is a billionaire. Basically, I believe it's like one of the 30 richest people in the world, I believe.
He's up there.
Yeah. He basically, his name is Jack. So, but he is being sent to Manila, which is where they keep prisoners. And the reason why he's called the Joker is because he never laughs at anything.
At anything.
So they have, sarcastically called him the Joker, and that's where we get the to be continued. So, so much stuff going on in this first issue.
Yeah, it was wild. Couldn't have been better if it tried.
Exactly, and it was trying, but it couldn't have been better.
Yeah, that's how good it was.
Right, but this was, I think, equally as good.
Easily equally as good.
Yeah.
Absolute Wonder Woman, Kelly Thompson.
Yes.
I thought she had she had big shoes to fill after that Scott Snyder start. This is Scott Snyder's whole thing. And bringing in writers, it's got to be tough. It's got to be intimidating. It's got to be scary for these writers coming in. And some of them are more proven, have a longer resume. But Kelly understood the assignment and showed out.
Yeah. We start in Gateway City, where we find that there's a news crew that is covering some things going on there. Out of nowhere, this upside down pyramid appears over Gateway City.
And demons emerge out of it.
Demons emerge out of it.
Like demon pterodactyls.
Pterodactyls, right, exactly. Yeah.
All over the whole city.
Yep. But they are quickly followed by this woman who is riding a skeleton horse, a skeleton winged horse.
Yeah, skeleton Pegasus.
Mm-hmm.
Coming down with the sword, chopping up the demonic pterodactyls. It really just starts, just goes right in. Just jumping, swinging, landing. News reporters talking about, kind of dialoguing what's happening and everything. Does a little slam the wristbands together, takes out a lot of the pterodactyls, and then you get the cool 2-page splash intro The Last Amazon Part 1. Absolute Wonder Woman. These are great. I know like it takes up a page in the book, but it's still it lets you know that you're into something huge. And that's where it jumps into our origin of this Wonder Woman.
Yes, we find Cersei, who is basically she's a prisoner on a solitary wasteland
In hell.
in hell. Correct. Who is visited by Apollo, who basically brings her a baby, basically, and asks to hell. Yes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And asks her to raise this baby, but we find out that even though this baby is an Amazon, Apollo basically forbids Cersei to actually even be able to say the word Amazon. So he says he basically declares that from here forward the word Amazon is banned. So I decree.
Oh, there it is. So apparently the Amazons and the Greek gods didn't get along. They had a spat, and the last Amazon, instead of doing something awful to this baby, they decided to send it to hell instead.
Exactly. Yeah. They had some sort of problem, and Apollo said, "Keep Amazon name out your mouth."
Exactly. Slapped him one time. Yeah. The Cersei was looking at this baby, like holding it by the foot, like, "Yo, this is crazy. I don't know how to raise a baby, and even if I did, how's it going to survive down here?" So she puts it in her weird little cave. It's just a cave at this point, and as soon as she does, you already see like a hell snake crawling up to it and opening its mouth, and then baby Diana just grabs it, and that's when Cersei thinks there's something different about this baby.
Yeah.
Yeet, literally yeets it. It says yeet. Yeet.
Yeah. We find the dragon from Mulan shows up next.
Yeah,
exactly. To Diana, she's playing with it. It basically throws some fire at her. She basically holds it by the scruff of its neck and says basically no.
And then pets it. It's like all these evil creatures, or you'd assume evil, these hell creatures are quickly tamed just from Diana's presence. It's building. The story is building so well already.
Yes. And then we get some. The next couple pages are pretty neat. I think the way that they run across the.
It shows the passage of time beautifully. We get a shot at the cave. In the top one, it's pretty barren. You got the cauldron, you got them walking, but then in the next one, you have a cauldron and a shower. Then the next one, they have like some living quarters, and in the next one, you can tell they've been there for a long time. Individual living quarters, the bookshelf. They have a life together. You see them, like you know what I'm saying. The whole passage of time thing. It's done great.
Mm-hmm.
And also, the dancing with all the creatures in that one, like everything loves Diana.
Right. It continues onto the next set of pages as well. Same thing. We see books. We see Diana getting older. We see her interacting with certain things. We see her then start to ask Cersei about who she is and where she comes from.
So, it's not too easy to tell her. She's not capable of even saying the name, but she slightly attempts to.
Yes. She attempts to, but she basically, again, as we know, she's not able to say the word Amazon. So, she asks, Diana has in the back of her mind this kind of gnawing type of a thing about the word Amazon. And so she says, Mother, there's a word. And he says, do you know this word? What is it? You haven't said it. And she's like, I'm not sure. It's real. It is real if you saw it. And so as she tries to say it, Cersei is again unable to say it.
Mm-hmm.
We find that Diana has managed to corral some more mythical beasts from hell, but then we flash back to the Gateway City thing that's going on, and we see Diana basically meeting up, coming face to face with one of the huge pterodactyls, probably the daddy pterodactyl.
Yes, the Harbinger is what Kelly
Yeah.
Thompson called it. As she approached it, what a great scene though. She's landed. She's walking off her Pegasus and she sees military personnel around due to the craziness happening. And she says, "Soldier, are you in charge?" And his response is, and she immediately says, "That is a no. Where's your superior?" Like just get all the civilians within a mile. And so she's moving in on her own. Like that was such a great moment. You really just get a sense of like how like dialed in she is, how like I don't know, the whole power structure of this character and the people around them. It had that same feel that the movies did, you know, like she's not disrespectful to anyone, but they're definitely not on her level.
Right.
You know, there's a huge difference.
Right. And we see the although we saw it in at the beginning when she swung it before, this is really kind of the first time that we kind of see the actual size in comparison to her. What the blade that she swings, and it kind of makes sense when you think about it, because I mean the power that she has. Well, why would she be confined to just a single one measly little sword?
Yeah, and the cool thing is we watched her draw it out of a small little satchel that's on her waist because
Right.
she's learned so much magic from Cersei, her adopted mother who's raised her, that she's able to just reach into a small bag and pull this thing out from it. So it's not taking up space on her body or her Pegasus.
Right. So she starts basically says, she has a you'll go no further type of a
Yeah, you are not welcome, Harbinger
yeah.
Prime. This world will defend itself. Go back to wherever you came from and tell whatever you herald that you were mistaken. This world is protected, and it wants that smoke. It's not scared of Diana. It tells her, but it is not, and it attacks her, bites her. She's putting her guard up, and she's doing her thing. She calls for Pegasus. It flies down and breathes fire out of its mouth and distracts. And she goes up and tries to cast a spell on it. It looks like lays hands on it, says some crazy words that aren't even written in any kind of readable language, and then it shoots eye lasers at Diana. So this thing is definitely powerful. She takes the hit, and she's on the ground steaming, and it's screaming that the Harbingers will rise. So chaos, prepare the way. And she says no, and she keeps fighting, dodging eye lasers, catching them with the bands. We get a couple of the iconic moves. You want to see those signature moves from your favorite pro wrestlers, and Diana doesn't let us down. She reflects them back at it, and it hits her even harder, knocks her across the city, and she looks down. She get hit so hard that it knocked us into a flashback.
Exactly. Where she's having that I know the final conversation, but that big conversation with exactly who she is, what she is, and finally Diana is actually able to say the word Amazon, even though Cersei can't.
Yeah, it was really cool there. She's like talking about like where I come from, and why can't we talk about it? Is it important? And Cersei can say things like, yes, it is important, and deep down you know what it is, and she knows that Cersei isn't capable of saying it. And they're having to talk like a beat around the bush kind of conversation. And she just looks at Diana and says, say the word, say it, and know it is what you are. And Diana, just from feeling it, you just see her looking into her mother's eyes and says, Amazon, quietly. And you're like, yo. And then you turn the page and she's laying there in like a puddle of sand from where she got planted. And she's, she see her standing up, cutting to the flashback panel for panel, present flashback. What does it mean, Mother Amazon? It is simply what you are, Diana. She's getting up, looking in the distance at the Harbinger, just wreaking havoc. She goes, what was that? And her mom explains, when Apollo sent you, they banished the word. And why would they do that? Because basically they fear you. You know what I mean? And she stands up, reaches into her little magic bag, and Cersei's flashing, say it again. Don't ever forget it. Say it again. Say it again. And she whispers to herself, Amazon. And then we get our last page. I got goosebumps right now because this moment was fire. And it looks, the Harbinger sees her and tells her, away, warrior, you have beaten. And she's like, no. And she says, will you continue to hurt? We will continue to hurt you if you insist. And Wonder Woman says, I insist. And she goes up in the air, and you see what she was reaching into her bag. And we get the first shot of the absolute lasso that is not gold, but it is glowing red. And I'm Diana Themyscira, and you want this smoke, you can have it. Like, continued in the next issue. What a finale page, man.
Yeah, I mean, if you've ever seen those moments in the movies where the hero says basically like, what, I am Hercules, son of Zeus, you go on and on stating their credentials almost,
Yeah.
before they go and beat the crap out of who they're about to engage with. This is what that moment was.
Yeah, she literally says, "For I am Diana Themyscira, last of the Amazons, daughter of Circe, princess of hell, witch of the wild eyes, and you will not have this world while I still draw breath."
Hmm.
To be continued.
Man,
What?
yeah,
What? And she's floating and has the whip out, and it looks like it's made of pure energy and stuff. Like, dude, like the whole issue just does this.
yeah, yep.
Like it's like you can hear the drums picking up the whole time, like you're just ready to go. It was amazing. We're
It
two
really
for
was.
two.
Exactly. And this Wednesday we got Absolute Superman coming out. Jason Aaron and Rafa Sandoval. So,
Dude, I fingers crossed. I hope it's the best of them. I hope every single issue of Absolute anything that comes out surpasses the previous one. I hope this is a massive hit. I cannot tell you how exciting it is to see how many people have went and picked this up that don't normally pick up DC. People saying like, yo, this got me back into comics. It got me curious enough to go to the shop. It's been years, or I normally don't pull DC, but I had to check this out and I loved it. This is what comic books need, not just DC, but comic books. It needs that excitement. It needs people talking about it to the point of more people going, and not just them going to buy it, but they read it and they're like, I'm in. I'm all in.
Exactly. We need, and not just going to buy it too, but we need people to go in consistently.
Yes.
We need those Wednesday warriors, to go in, that they have, the first thing they have to do on Wednesdays is I got to go get this next issue, whatever it happens to be. Because like you said, it's not only good for DC, it's good for comics as a whole.
The whole industry, the whole community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, go out and get them. If you haven't got them yet, go get them.
Yeah.
Get it.
Because you can still get, probably may not in like your local comic shops, but in some of the
retailer,
some of the retailers, like if you go to like Midtown or something or whatever, you may still be able to get some of them. Like I said, there were a million covers, at least for the Batman one. I know there were a lot for Wonder Woman as well, but there were besides the normal covers that you could buy that were in the local comic shops, there were a lot of retailer covers as well for Batman and Wonder Woman as well. So, and then the same will be happening for Superman. So, but yeah, can't wait to talk about Superman on our next episode because I think it's going to be good. I really think it's going to be good. So, but that's going to be it for this edition of DC Comics Deep Dive. But don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you're alerted whenever we upload new content. Leave us a comment. Let us know, what did you think of Absolute Batman and Absolute Wonder Woman? Are you all in? Hopefully you're all in. But as of right now, well, not just right now, but pretty much always, I'm Paul. He is Mark.
But we are Legion.
And you're now leaving Sector 2815.